Hello, everyone. This is Charity and Alex, and we're going to present Domain 3, Management of Food and Nutrition Programs and Services, Topic A, Functions and Management. So the functions of management are planning, directing, organizing, controlling, and staffing. And today we're going to focus on organizing to start out with. Organizing outlines processes, procedures, and aims to improve productivity of a system. Productivity is defined as a ratio between the volume of output and the volume of inputs. Inputs include resources, money, material, time, labor, information that is required by the system. And outputs can include goods and services that result from transforming the inputs of the system. In food service, the primary output is meals in the proper quantity and quality, and also employee and customer satisfaction, financial accountability, and patient days are desired outcomes. Some of the productivity ratios that we use most commonly in food service include labor cost per labor hour, meals per labor hour, and food trays per minute. Work simplification is the process of removing unnecessary tasks from existing roles to make them more focused towards the goals of the business. Benefits of this help to increase productivity and help decrease costs. Some examples of work simplification are occurrence sampling or activity sampling, which is a set of random observations for employees to determine percentages of working time and non-working or idle time. Motion economy, which we use to reduce motion and time required in the workplace. The straightest and shortest routes in the facility, we use simultaneous hand movements that are natural and rhythmic. An operations chart, which gives overall view of various steps of a product, operations, inspections, and storage of a product. Process chart, which is a flow chart that shows step-by-step processes within the facility. A cross chart, which shows the number of steps and movements between pieces of equipment. And a pathway chart or a flow chart, which is the scale drawing of a process all raw materials go through before becoming a finished product.
All right, thank you, Charity. So I am Alex, and I'm going to talk about department structure and unit structure. So what we have here is an organizational chart, and this chart shows how all employees fit into the organization. And just some aspects of the organizational chart is it depicts the basic relationships of positions and functions. It specifies the formal authority and communication network of the organization. And lines between positions are used to indicate the prescribed formal interaction. So the underlying concept here is because managers cannot supervise an unlimited number of subordinates, different areas of organization activity must be defined with someone placed in charge of each area. The organization chart is a simplified model of the structure. It is not an exact representation of reality, and therefore it has limitations. For example, the degree of authority a supervisor has over a subordinate is not indicated. So like looking at the chart, you can see the head of company has these lines drawn to each department head, and then each department head has team members. And so the lines show the authority going to this department head, but maybe this team member could ask another department head questions, so it doesn't exactly show you the formal authority. So like maybe there could be a line in between here with department heads working together. So that's just one limitation. Charts should be revised periodically because organizations are dynamic and undergo many changes over time. Next, we have a chain of command, and this is a system used to ensure that an employee only receives supervision from one manager. This is going to provide authority and accountability from the highest office or position with the chain to the lowest element. So what is the appropriate span? One response could be that it depends on the situation. The situational approach, also called the contingency approach, is applicable in answering many questions about organizations. You have organizational policies, availability of staff experts, competency of workers, existence of objective work standards, technology, and nature of the work are among the factors affecting the span of management in specific situations. And next we have a span of control, which refers to the number of employees will directly manage. And so we have a narrow and a wide span of control. And as you can see, the narrow span of control, this manager is only managing 2 people. It's a narrow span versus wide span of control. This manager has 5 people that they are managing. So a narrow span where a manager has a small number of employees, this may mean that there are many managers within a facility versus a wide span where the manager has a large number of employees they supervise. This is typically better for highly trained, highly motivated employees. And next we have a question, which is, would a newly hired employee need a narrow or wide span of control? And the answer is a narrow span of control. A narrow span of control as they are new and will need time before they can manage a wide span of employees.
So now we have the full-time equivalent worker. A full-time equivalent worker, or FTE, is typically someone who works 40 hours per week, but it can depend on how many hours per week an establishment has for full-time workers. A full-time equivalent worker could be any number of employees that equal 40 hours per week. So if you had 2 part-time employees that both worked 20 hours per week, 2 times 20 is 40 hours. So we would have 1 full-time equivalent worker. Also to be noted is that we have absolute FTEs, which consider the minimum number of employees needed to staff the facility, and these count productive hours or actual hours worked, while we have adjusted full-time equivalent workers that takes into account the benefit days and days off.
Okay, talking about some types of staff here. We have advisory or specialist versus functional. And the easiest way to think about this is advisory specialists are more your managers, where functional are more of the team members, the frontline workers. And so advisory specialists are facilitators, assist the teams, and usually are supervisors with special training for the role. They may advise and support staff, but do not partake in the day-to-day duties. So this is something like a bar manager who will teach their bartenders how to properly bartend, but aren't necessarily bartending themselves day to day. They're doing some of more of the manager roles like inventory and stock and scheduling, versus functional employees, which are employees grouped in any functional area of the company, are assigned specific tasks and duties within the department to further the goals of the company. So they will partake in the day-to-day duties, and they may assist the advisory staff. So these are like cooks and back of house, or like servers in front of house. These are groups of employees that work together in a functional area of the company. And we have what is known as a relief worker, and this is going to determine the number of employees needed for everyday coverage of full-time positions. Approximately 1.55 employees are necessary for everyday coverage of full-time positions. To determine the actual number of employees needed, the number of full-time positions is multiplied by 0.55 to find the number of relief employees necessary in addition to full-time staff. So we have a question: how many total employees would be needed if you had 20 full-time employees? So what we're going to do here is we're going to take our 20 full-time staff, multiply it by 0.55, and get 11 relief employees. So to get the total number of employees, we're going to take those 11 relief employees plus our 20 full-time staff to come up with 31 total employees. Next, we have types of schedules. We have a shift schedule, which will indicate the position and hours worked and may indicate the number of days worked per week. It also lists relief assignments for positions when regular workers are off. So this is the schedule you see that's posted on the door or on the billboard or somewhere that everyone can look at, it's going to be maybe a month max, or it'll definitely have weeks in there, and it'll show who is working on that particular day and the hours that each person is working for that day. Next, we have a master schedule, which is the basis for developing the weekly schedule, serves as an overall plan, documents days on and off and vacations. So this schedule is going to be used to make the shift schedule. And next we have a production schedule. This is what to do and when, provides a sequencing of events required to produce a product, an example, a meal, or quantity to prepare, and timing involved. So this is for something like a catering event coming up that would be on the production schedule. You would need to know how many meals you're going to make for that catering event, or it could even be just like a big event, like a wedding party coming in. And so you would need to know to help prep ingredients for that day. And that concludes our presentation.